What's interesting is how this little village in the Aude region of Normandy, with barely 200 inhabitants, manages to attract 50,000 visitors a year, and its name is known across the globe. Everyone knows the word Camembert, but few really know the village itself.
It's true that the legend has grown bigger than us, but nevertheless, what's fascinating is that production techniques haven't really changed since Marie-Arelle first made the cheese here 200 years ago. There's really a whole backstory behind this product.
Nestled deep in the Normandy countryside, it's one of the smallest villages in France. But the expertise of one of its residents turned this sleepy hamlet into a huge household name. Bruno Amato is a writer who's been fascinated by the history of Camembert for years. The story begins during the French Revolution in the dairy of a local farmer.
It all started with Marie-Arelle, who used to make cheese to sell at the markets in the region, especially in Vimoutiers. And in 1790, a priest from the Brie area came to stay in the manor house. He taught her how to make the perfect rind for her cheese that would later become known as the Camembert. It was all down to chance and a fortuitous meeting.
And so an emblem of Normandy was born. Camembert pops up regularly in the history books. Napoleon III fell in love with the cheese while visiting the region and then requested it every day for his dining table. But it was during the First World War that Camembert really took off.
In the beginning, it was very small scale. But during the First World War, 1 day's worth of production was issued to the soldiers. Very quickly, the Camembert cheese became known, first by the men in the trenches, and then throughout their villages when they came home from fighting. Soon, people were eating it right across the country.
Through the war, messages to the soldiers in the trenches were printed on the labels of Camembert boxes, a sign of gratitude from the entire nation. But to really understand Camembert, you have to come here, to the last remaining cheese producer in the village. François is a native of these parts. He lovingly produces his creamy Camembert here, day after day.
We try to promote local produce. The milk from Normandy has a particular characteristic. The grass harvested in this region gives a special flavor to the milk, which obviously helps make a unique product.
Raw or unpasteurized milk is key to making the Normandy Camembert. It helps release all the natural lactic enzymes, giving the cheese its flavor.
It's a fascinating job. We work with a product that's living, and that's where the eye and the special touch of the cheesemaker comes into play. But it's a delicate process because the Camembert is not the easiest of cheeses to make.
His dairy is a far cry from the industrial producers who churn out 400,000 Camembert a day. Here, just 500 or 600 are made daily.
Everything is done by hand. Obviously, compared to industrial production, things are very different here. There are 15 different stages to making the cheese, from the first step to the Camembert being ready to eat.
2.5 liters of milk goes into making each cheese. But the real secret is the use of a ladle, an old Normandy tradition that is fiercely respected here.
It's Marie-Arelle's special touch. It hasn't changed for 200 years. We're still making Camembert in this traditional way. One of the secrets of the production process is this little technique. Ladling into the molds is what sets our raw milk Normandy Camembert apart from the others.
It's a heritage that's been kept alive here for centuries.
We pour 1,500 litres of milk into moulds every day, and this technique is very important. Pouring the milk from a ladle into the Camembert mould without the mould moving is a very important stage. That's why this process can never be mechanised. It might seem crazy to have to pour 5 ladles of milk 5 times per cheese, but it's crucial to obtaining the best quality product, and small manufacturers like us are fighting to keep this tradition alive.
Once out of their moulds, the Camembert are left to mature for 15 days before being packaged in their famous poplar wood boxes.
Everything we do is pure, using the creamiest part of the milk. We leave the cream to develop with the unpasteurized milk, and that's what makes the cheese. But we're looking to make cheese with real character, which is something you find less and less nowadays with industrial production.
The Camembert has been sold right across the globe, almost to the point where it's a victim of its own success.
The word Camembert has never been officially protected. Now it's entered the public domain, meaning it can be used wherever and whenever. That's why you find Camembert produced abroad, in the most unimaginable countries for French people. Overseas, they make them tinned or vacuum-packed. They're cheeses that have nothing to do with the real Normandy Camembert.